Hello, everybody. My name is Dan, and this is my series of practicing English. I can say today is especially tired day of my life. In the morning, I went to Ho Chi Minh City to participate in a thesis presentation of my classmate, and then in the afternoon I have to went back to the hotel for my classroom for my classes, so I have no time to break. And I was hungry at that time. When I traveled back to my hometown, stopped I stopped to buy some bread, a bread, a bread with grilled meat, grilled meat, and it cost me about 20,000 dong. And then I was eating while I dried while I rode my motorbike. So this experience I used to have in the past, and now I have to do it again because I have no time to break. I had no time to break. Let's keep continuing reading the Christmas Carol, and I think today I should finish the book because I guess there are two more chapters. Okay, let's go with me. The last of spirits. The third spirit will come at midnight. Scrooge suddenly remembered the word of Jacob's merry ghost, and lifting his eyes, saw a spirit, all in black, coming slowly towards him. It was a tall, silent figure, wearing a long black robe which hid its head and body. When it came close to him, it stopped and pointed onwards with one hand. Scrooge was more afraid of this spirit than he had been of the others, and his voice was shaking as he asked, "Are you the spirit of Christmas yet to come?" The ghost neither spoke nor moved, but still pointed onwards. "Are you going to see me shadows of things which haven't happened yet? But it will happen in the future," Scrooge asked. There was no answer. "Ghost of the future," he continued, "you frighten me very much, but I think you can help me to change my life. I'll be very grateful to you if you show me the future. Won't you speak to me?" Again, no reply. "Well, show me the way, spirit," said Scrooge finally. "The night is passing and the time is valuable to me, I know." The ghost moved away, with Scrooge following in its shadow. Suddenly, they were in the heart of the capital, among the businessmen and moneylenders. The ghost pointed to a small group of men, so Scrooge went closer to listen to their conversation. "No, I don't know. I don't know much about it," said one fat man. "I only know he's dead." "When did he die?" asked another man. "Last night, I think." "Why? What was the matter with him?" asked the third. "I've no idea," replied the fat man, looking bored. "Who cares?" "What's he done with his money?" asked the red-faced gentleman. "I haven't heard," said the fat man. It hasn't left it to me. That's all I know. They all laughed at this. Scrooge knew the man and looked towards the spirit, hoping it would explain what conversation meant. But the ghost moved on, pointed at two more men. Scrooge listened again. He knew these men well. They were rich and important, and he had often done business with them. "How are you?" said one. "How are you?" replied the other. "Well," said the first, "the old man has died at last." "Has he?" "So they tell me," replied the second. "Cool, isn't it?" "Cold, isn't it?" "Nice and frosty for Christmas." "Good morning." Not another word. That's were the ends of their meeting. Scrooge wondered why the spirit wanted him to hear these conversations. What could they mean? The dead man could not see his partner Jacob because he was already dead. Scrooge watched carefully, trying to understand. He looked around for his old shadow, but could not see himself anywhere. Perhaps that's not surprising, he thought, because if I change my mind, I'm planning to do that. I won't be the same person in the future. Just then he noticed the spirit standing quiet and dark beside him, with its pointing hand. He felt the unseen eyes starting fixedly at him behind the black robe. Scrooge's body shocked, and he felt cold. They left the busy offices and banks and went to another part of the capital where Scrooge had never been before. The streets were narrow and dirty, the houses miserably poor, and the people unwashed and half-dressed. Down one street there was a mon's shop. There one old man was sitting and waiting for customers. His business was buying old furniture or clothes and selling them again to the poorest people in London. As Scrooge and the spirit watched, three women arrived at the shop door at the same time, each carrying a large bundle. They looked very surprised and a little ashamed to see each other. Suddenly they all started laughing. "Ladies, you couldn't find a better place to meet," said Jones, the old man, getting up. "Now come inside and show me what you got to sell." Inside, the first woman put her bundle on the table and said, "I don't care if everybody knows where this comes from. We'll have to care of ourselves." "He always did." "That's right," agreed the second woman. "Very true," agreed the third. "Does a dead man need these things?" continued the first woman. "And why was he so mean while he was alive? We all worked for him, didn't we? Cleaned his house, washed his clothes, cooked his soup, and what did we get? 3 shillings a week. It's no surprise that he died alone, with no friends around him." "You never spoke a truer word," said the second. "He was the bad man." "We all know that," said the third. "Now, what have we here?" said old Joe, opening the women's bundles. "Buttons, pencils, boots, silver spoons, some excellent bed curtains, blankets, and a very good shirt, he added, feeling the fine cotton. Yes, it was his best, said the first woman. They put it on him after he died, but he doesn't need it now that he's dead. And the blankets and the bed curtains, he doesn't need them either. You took the shirt of a dead body and the blankets and the curtains of his bed while he was lying there. Well, well, said Joe, shaking his head. There's your money. And he counted out several shillings into the woman's hands. Ha, 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 laughed the first woman. He frightened everyone away when he was alive, and will make money out of him now that he's dead. Ha, ha, ha. Scrooge felt sick and angry at the same time. Spirit, he said, I see now. I could be unhappy, man. Good heavens, what was this? Joe and the woman had disappeared, and Scrooge was standing in the dark room. Opposite him was a bed with no blankets or curtains. A light saw down from above onto the body of a dead man covered with a sheet. How sad, thought Scrooge, to die with no friends or a family around him, to lie in an empty room with no candles or flowers, and robbed of his clothes, to know that nobody loves him because he loved nobody in his life. Money can't buy a happy life or peaceful death. He looked at the spirit, whose hands were pointing at the man's covered head. It would be easy to lift the sheet and see who the man was, but for some reason Scrooge did not do it. Spirit, he said, this is a terrible place. Let's go. Still the ghost, unmoving figure pointed at the man's head. I understand you, but I can't look at him. Spirit, I can't, said Scrooge wildly. If there's anyone in this town who feels anything at this man's death, show that person to me, Spirit, please. For a moment the spirit lifted its dark robe like a wind, and showed Scrooge a room where a mother and her children were sitting. The young woman kept looking at the clock, and when her husband arrived, she hurried to meet him. What is the news? She asked him worriedly. Is good or bad? There's still hope, Caroline, he replied. How can there be hope? If that mean old man wants us to pay back the money now, they'll sell us to prison. We haven't got enough to pay him. He's dead, Caroline, answered her husband. Thank God for that, cried the woman for her hat. The next moment she realized that what she had said. Oh, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry if anyone dies. Perhaps the person who inherits his business will give us more time to pay the money back, and we'll have the money by then. Tonight we can't sleep well, Caroline. So, Spirit, says Scrooge in a broken voice, you can show me only happiness at this man's death. It frightens me, Spirit. Frighten me, Spirit. Show me, please, that there can be sadness at the death. After that, the ghost took him silently through the streets to poor Bob Cratchit's house. The room seemed strangely quiet. The mother and her daughters were making a small white cotton shirt together, while the usually noisy young Cratchit sat silently in a corner, and Pete was reading a book. Miss Cratchit put her work down on the table and covered her face with her hand. "The collar hurts my eyes," she said. "The collar, poor Tiny Tim. There's a little better now," she went on. "It's difficult to work by candlelight, and I don't want to show red eyes to your father when he comes home." "He's a bit late," said Pete, "but I think he walked more slowly these last few days, Mother." They were very quiet again. At last she said bravely, "I've known him walk with Tiny Tim with his rams very fast indeed." "So I have," cried Pete, "often. But he had a very light to carry, and your father loved him so much. There's your father at the door now." She got up quickly to kiss Bob as he came in. He looked tired and thin and knitted his long scarf pomade. Martha took his boots and scarf up, and Bellina brought him his tea, and the little Cratchit sat close to him. He was very cheerful with all of them, and was pleased with a little shirt that his wife and daughters were making. "It'll be really ready. It'll be ready long before Sunday, won't it?" he said. "Sunday? You went there today, then?" Bob asked his wife. "Yes, my dear. You'll love to see it. It's a beautiful garden place, but you'll see it often. I promised him that we would to go there every Sunday." "My little child," cried Bob, hiding in his face with his hands. He had loved the boy very much. He went upstairs to a quiet bedroom where the child lay. Poor Rob sat down beside him, and he felt calmer, kissed a little face, and went downstairs again, almost happy. "My dears," he said to his children, "one of these days some of you will marry and live home. In a few years' time, perhaps all of you will. But I'm sure none of us will ever forgotten Tiny Tim, will we?" "Never, Father," all of them cried. "And I know," said Bob, "that when we remember how patient and gentle he was, although he was only a little child, we won't argue among ourselves. We'll remember poor Tiny Tim and love each other." "We will, Father," they cried again. "I'm very happy," said Bob. "I'm very happy." Miss Cratchit kissed him. His daughter kissed him, and two young Cratchits kissed him. And he and Pete shook hands. "Tiny Tim, good your goodness lives on in your family." "Spirit," said Scrooge, "I know that you'll leave me soon. Tell me who that deaf man on the bed was." No answer came in words, but the ghost of Christmas yet to come took the Scrooge through the street of London again. "Wait a moment," said Scrooge. "We passing my office. Let me see how I shall look in the future. How I shall look in the future." The spirit stopped Its hands were pointing away from the office, but Scoot hurried up to the window and looked in. It was an office still, but not his. The furniture were not the same, and the figures in the chair was not himself. The ghost continued to point onwards, and Scott followed. They reached a church and entered the churchyard. Here, among the untidy graves and the uncut grass, lay the miserable man whose name Scrooge would soon learn. It was a lonely place, more suitable for a man so unloved. The spirit stood and pointed down at one of the graves. Scrooge was straightly afraid. Before I look more closely at the gravestone, he said, answer me one question. Are there the shadows of things that will be, or are they only shadows of this thing that may be? Without replying, the ghost pointed silently down at the grave. Scrooge moved slowly towards it, and following the figure, read on the stone his own name, Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm that man who was lying on the bed, he cried. The spirit pointed from the grave to him and back again. No spirit. Oh no, the figure was still there. Scrooge fell on the ground in front of the ghost, holding its long dark robe. Spirit, listen. I'm a changed man. I have learned my lesson from your spirit. Why show me this terrible land if there is no hope for me? For the first time, the hand appeared to shake. Good spirit, tell me that my future will change if I change my life now. The kind hand shook again. I will remember the past and think of the future. I will be good to other people. I'll keep Christmas in my heart and will try to be kind and cheerful and merry every day. Oh, tell me I can clean away the writing on this door. Violently, he caught the ghostly hand and held it from the moment, but the spirit was stronger than him and pulled its hand away. Just then Scott noticed that something strange was happening to the spirit. It was getting smaller and smaller, and suddenly it became a bedpost. The final chapter, chapter 5, the end of the story. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiness of all, the future was his own to change in his life. To change his life in. I will remember the past and think of the future, repeated Scrooge. And he jumped out bed. God bless you, Jacob Marley, and God bless Christmas. In his excitement, he found it difficult to speak. His face was still wet from crying. Here are my bed curtains, he cried delightedly. They aren't stolen. I'm alive. Those were only shadows of things that maybe the future be different. I know it will. All this time his hands were busy, hurriedly putting on his clothes. He put his left foot in his right shoe, couldn't find the button on his shirt, and forgot to brush his hair. I don't know what I'm doing, said Scrooge, laughing and crying at the same time. A Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all the world. Hurrah! There's the door which Jacob's ghost came through. There's the corner where the ghost of Christmas present sat. There's a window where I travel with a traveling ghost. It's a true. It's all happened. Ha ha ha. Really? For a man who hadn't laughed for really? For a man who hadn't laughed for so many years, it was an exciting, excellent laugh, the father of a long line of excellent laughs. I don't know what day of the month it is, says Scrooge. I don't know how long I've been with the spirits. I don't know anything. I just like a baby. Never mind. I prefer being a baby. Hooray! Just then he heard the church bells ring out louder than he had ever heard before. Running to the window, he opened it and looked out. No fog at all. A clear, bright, cold day. Golden sunlight, blue sky, sweet clean air, merry bells. "Ah, wonderful, wonderful! What's today?" he cried, calling down to a boy in the street. "Today?" replied the boy in great surprise. "Why, it's Christmas Day." "So I haven't missed it," thought Scrooge. "The spirits have done it all in one night." He called down to the boy again. "Hello, young man. Did you know the meat shop at the corner of the next street?" "Of course I do," replied the boy. "What an intelligent boy," said Scrooge. "Do you know if they sold the big turkey that was in the shop window yesterday?" "What? The one as big as me?" asked the boys. "What a delightful boy," said Scrooge. "It's wonderful to talking to him." "Yes, that's the one." "It's still there in the window," said the boy. "Is it?" said Scrooge. "Well, go and buy it." "You don't mean it?" cried the boy. "I do. I'm serious. Go and buy it, and tell the man to bring it back here. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a sibling. Come back in less than 5 minutes. I'll give you 3 siblings." The boy went off like a bullet from a gun. "I'll send the turkey to Pop Cratchit," laughed Scrooge. "He'll never know who sent it. It's twice as big as Tiny Tim. Ha, ha, ha." He went on laughing as he wrote Bob's address and gave it to the man with the turkey and paid for a taxi because the turkeys were much too heavy to carry all the way to Camden Town. Now he finished dressing and went out into the streets wearing his bedclothes. The town was full of happy, busy people, and Scrooge smiled at all of them. 3 or 4 men said cheerily to him, "Good morning, sir, and a Merry Christmas to you." Scrooge thought these were best sounds that he had ever heard. As he was walking, he suddenly noticed one of the comfortable-looking gentlemen who had come to his office to ask for money for the poor. Scrooge went straight up to him, took the old gentleman by both hands, and said, "My dear sir, how are you? Merry Christmas to you, sir." "Mr. Scrooge?" asked the gentleman, surprised. "Yes, that's my name. I'm very sorry for what I said you when you visited me yesterday. Will you please?" And he spoke very quietly in gentleman's ear. "God heavens!" cried gentleman. "My dear, my Scrooge, are you serious?" "I am. Not a shilling less. I must tell you, I haven't given anything to anyone for years. My dear sir, said the gentleman, shaking hands with him, I don't know how to thank you for. Don't say anything, please, replied Scott. Will you come and see me tomorrow about it? I will, cried the old gentleman happily. Thank you, God bless you, said Scrooge. He went to the church and watched the people and gave children money for sweets and discovered he had never been so happy in his life. In the afternoon, he went to his nephew's house and he passed the door several times before he was brave enough to knock, but at last he did, and was taken into the sitting room where Bragg and his pretty wife were waiting for their friends to arrive for dinner. Fred, said Scrooge, it's your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. Will you let me stay, Fred? Let him stay. Fred almost shook his uncle's arms off. Scrooge felt at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be merrier, and what a wonderful dinner they had. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful happiness. But he was early at the office next morning. Oh, he was there early. He wanted to catch Bob Cratchit arriving late, and he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. The water passed. No Bob. He was 18.5 minutes late. When he finally hurried, Scrooge was sitting with his office door open. Hello, said Scrooge with his old hard voice. What do you mean by coming here so late? I'm very sorry, said Bob. I'm late. It's only once a year. We were rather merry yesterday, sir. Now, I'll tell you that, my friend, said Scrooge. I'm not going to have this any longer. And so he continued, jumping off his chair, shaking both hands. I'm going to pay you twice as much. Bob's face went white. For a second or two, he thought that Scrooge had gone crazy. A Merry Christmas, Bob, said Scrooge. And it was clear that he meant it. A Merry Christmas, Bob, that I've given you for a long time. Going to pay you well and have you with your family, and we'll discuss it on this afternoon over a Christmas drink, Bob. Put more wood on the fire and at once, Bob Cratchit, and let's be comfortable. Scrooge did everything that he promised and more. So Tiny Tim, who did not die, and he became a second father. He became as a good friend, employer, and a man as anyone in London or in the world. Some people laughed to see the change in him, but he did not care. His old heart laughed inside him, and that was good enough for him. He had never any more conversations with spirits, but kept Christmas cheerful and lived in a happy life. That's what all of us want, and so, as Tiny Tim said, God bless us, everyone. Oh my God, this is the end for today reading. Then happy ending for this. And I think if I have a chance, I will reread this book again, because this book is really good. It makes me feel a lot of things from this book. The word too easy to understand, and many things to do with this. Thank you for listening, and until next time. Yes.